Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about watches. Now you may have noticed that there's been a slight improvement in sound quality since last time, and that's due to my recent upgrade of headset, which has been kindly donated by coolheadphones.com.au/really cool. Hit it up for all the coolest stuff. Okay, so let's start talking about watches. So I think probably the reason that we still have watches today and why they're such a big part of our lives is just because of this whole idea of having a schedule and needing to keep time and sort of needing to arrange your day to certain times and that sort of thing. That's sort of been a big step in culture for humanity, and so I think that's sort of why they're still a prevalent thing in terms of their origin. I'm not sure exactly of their historical origin and how we came to wear them on our wrists and stuff, but yeah, the most conventional method of wearing watches on your wrist, generally the left wrist, generally with the face on the back end of the wrist, sometimes on the underside of the wrist. Some people try to put like a long sleeve t-shirt underneath their watch to prevent tan lines, which is advisable. And you can also have a pocket watch, and I think in the future we may even go to like contact lenses, which are computers. That's sort of like a general thing, and then obviously they will have the time as a part of the utility of that. So I think that's what we've got to sort of look forward to. And then of course we have our phones as well, which is a common device for checking the time. I think in terms of the future, some things we can sort of look forward to in watches. If you've ever seen a spy movie, there's sort of like the whole listening devices in watches, and maybe like even a grappling hook to get to different places could come in handy. If we think about actual watches that are out there, you've got iWatches, which can tell you like anything from your heart rate to the weather. You can play games on it. You can find your social security number and calorie intake. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that where does this stop? Like, how much information do we need in a simple device on our wrist? Yeah, basically if we keep adding like apps and stuff to our watches, and they're all sort of just general things that you have to check, then how much of our time is this taking up? And is it sort of a big old paradox where, yes, you've got a device which was made for keeping track of time, making sure you stay to a schedule, yet you're wasting your schedule by using the device, getting distracted by it. There's a bit of a thing going on there. So I want to bring the conversation back to the idea of watches as keeping a schedule and that sort of necessity in our society. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I think it's quite interesting to sort of look at how we function as people, and just sort of how structure aids us in our lives. The prime example for many of the listeners, I think for the sort of target audience that I think are listening, would be school and sort of the routine and structure of school. And I think, like, obviously whilst school can be quite bland and boring, it definitely gives us a clear sort of thing to do. And I think if we were left to our own devices, it would definitely be a lot more chaotic, and it would be sort of harder for people to decide what to do with themselves. It also applies to the wider members of society, so anyone with a job basically, because a job is sort of a schedule. It's a thing that says, okay, you do this at this time, and it basically just gives you the backbone of a structure that you can work the rest of your life around. And personally I've sort of found without any structure it's very hard to like make one for yourself, particularly as a teenager going through a transition where you're trying to discover your values and that sort of thing. It's hard to decide what to do, and so I found I sort of fall into a hole where I basically not entirely sure what to do, and I sort of just act off instinct rather than planning out my day and planning out my goals and that sort of thing. I think goal setting is probably a good way to avoid it, But yeah, I guess I generally just sort of attack things like whatever's most necessary at the time. You know, obviously basic necessities, food, water, brushing your teeth, that sort of thing. There's social inclinations, so making sure you're having interactions with friends and that sort of thing is a big thing for me. But like that, apart from that, that's sort of, yeah, the rest is very in the air, and it's basically just based off instinct, and it's kind of whatever I feel like doing at the time. I think that's an unhealthy lifestyle in the long term, but at the moment it's probably good for me to sort of explore and discover new things while I can, and find out what I enjoy and what I don't. And so that's what I'm sort of trying to use the time for. I'm trying to sort of hold myself back from just doing instinctual things, from just doing, you know, dopamine-based things, basically like YouTube or social media or whatever. And so, yeah, I guess it's my time to explore new things, to learn new skills, and that sort of thing, and things that I enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to do it. To be real, like if you don't enjoy it, there's no real motivation, unless it is something that you sort of require for a longer term goal. Anyway, I've sort of drifted off topic a bit, and so we'll try and divert ourselves back into the idea of a watch. So another thing we can sort of consider when thinking about watches is the word itself, because watch can also mean observe rather than the noun, which is like the actual device. And so then you sort of get into this entanglement of watching a watch. So I'm sure at some point in your life, it might not have been a watch necessarily, but maybe a clock or something, you just sort of found yourself just watching the seconds tick. I think that's a really interesting concept that we have within our culture, just the idea of just watching time go by and having a conscious awareness of time, I guess. It's almost like it's something to pass the time. We literally watch time, which is sort of a bit of a paradox, but that's sort of an interesting concept. It's also interesting that we've sort of managed to, I guess, define time. So we literally have a specific definition for time. It's interesting that time changes due to a frame of reference and that sort of thing as well. So everyone's time is different, but you know, in terms of people on Earth and walking around, we all have relatively the same time. So the question for me sort of comes, well, we all have like the same time, like physically sort of thing, but in terms of our consciousness, do we all experience time the same way? Do some people find life slower than others? Do you experience certain moments? And in fact, that's what we feel. We feel that certain moments can be longer or shorter than others, depending on our feeling. The classic thing is like, if you're having fun, things like go fast, and if you're not, then it's a lot slower. So that's sort of an interesting thing. It's where time is sort of stretched out due to our own perception of it, I guess. I'd also like to add in, because it seemed, I thought I didn't have enough time, but looks like I should have enough to sort of snake this in. Yeah, I basically want to add that what I'm doing on the math screen right now, and also what I'll be doing for the next video, is sort of connected to this whole talk about time, and my aspirations of finding something to do with my time and what things I should do. In my explorations of different things, I've sort of discovered that, well, I knew I enjoyed maths, but I sort of started experimenting with maths a bit, in a legitimate way this time, and so the maths that you will be seeing is going to be legitimate, and actual maths, and hopefully, if you understand it, it should be some good fun. Anyway, have you checked the time? Because I think it's past your bedtime. Yeah, and it's past mine too. So I'm gonna go to bed. I don't know about you. I hope you enjoyed watching or listening, or both. I certainly did, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys soon. I'll see you later.